Two Israeli embassy staffers were shot dead in D.C. last night, and it's really important we talk about it, not because of the action itself, but because of the reaction that we're already starting to see. As you might expect, those murders have led to a lot of politicians and other officials saying things like this was an anti-Semitic attack, and this is unprecedented, and we shouldn't stand for this. We have to condemn this. And I'm not going to give my personal opinion on all of this, but I am going to push back on all of those points. Starting off with the big one, it wasn't an act of anti-Semitism. This was very clearly, from all indications, a person attacking two Israeli embassy officials because they were embassy officials, because they were Zionists, right? And it's really important that we don't inadvertently conflate anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, because what that's doing is advancing Zionist rhetoric that will inevitably assist state crackdowns against pro-Palestine organizing. That's not to say you can't disagree with the action, but to frame it as anti-Semitism is inherently giving into Zionist rhetoric and this Zionist framing that any violence against even Israeli embassy officials is just because those officials are Jewish. This not even getting into the fact that from what some people have been able to find preliminarily, one of these victims was seemingly not even Jewish. He was a Christian, but that's a whole other thing. The other argument that we're seeing less of, but that we're still seeing, is this idea that this is an unprecedented attack, right? That has to be condemned because, diplomatic staffers and embassy officials don't deserve to be treated like they're wartime combatants. And to that, I just have to say that this is footage of the Israeli bombing of the Iranian embassy in Syria last year. And this is a headline describing Israeli occupational forces firing on diplomats in the West Bank that came out literally the same day as those murders. What do I mean by all of this? Well, this is a precedent that was broken first and foremost by Israelis, by Zionists. The putting of diplomatic staff in danger is something that the Israelis have been doing for quite some time. And when we're looking at diplomatic norms, it's important to frame it properly and understand who really started this erosion of these norms and processes. But most critically, agree or disagree with the murders of these two people, I really don't care. It's critical to note that they would still be alive had the Israeli government not been committing a genocide actively in Gaza. And that's the reality of it, right? Zionists and their allies can bitch and moan all they want about these two people having died in D.C., but they would still be breathing today. They'd be waking up today and going into work had the Zionist colony not been dropping metric tons of bombs on Gaza for well over a year and a half now. In a sort of ironic fashion, their lives would be safer, as would the lives of millions of others, if Zionist colonialism came to an end in Palestine. But you're not going to hear that point acknowledged by our media or by political officials because they're too busy just trying to condemn this as anti-Semitism and go about their day. But it's important that we push back on shitty rhetoric, especially shitty rhetoric that is likely to lead to further crackdowns against pro-Palestine organizers who have already been arrested, detained, and attempted to be deported by institutions like ICE and the DHS. Anyway, though, as always, free Palestine, Assalamu alaikum, and have a great day.